Buying properties in Lagos or Nigeria as a whole is no small feat. And with all that has been happening in the real estate space in Nigeria, one needs to avoid issues associated with the real estate space. And in this video, we're going to be sharing 8 major red flags for you to look out for before buying any property in Nigeria. Now, in no particular order, let's get into it. Number 1, they do not want to grant you access to inspect that property together with your surveyor for chatting. Real estate is not your regular product you can just breeze into the market, buy and come back. It requires serious capital. One needs to be very careful. If they are not ready to grant you access, it means something is wrong. A few years ago, I sold a land for a real estate company, and before I did that, they took us to the site, we inspected the property, showed us somewhere in Ibejuleki after the refinery, after the deep sea port, deep down. I sold that property to a friend who did not come for it. He was not even in Lagos. Based on trust, he made initial payments. And when he eventually came to Lagos, before completing the payment, he requested to go and see that property. So we went to this company's office. After waiting a while, we entered the road and they were taking us to the property. Not long after we left the office, we discovered that they were taking us to another different estate. And we were like, no, this is not where we want to go and see. This is not where we paid for. We called the MD and she was like, oh, this, they just feigned ignorance that this was not what the customer care told the driver. And this vehicle cannot go as far as where the estate is. So it was not a convenient or a palatable experience, especially because my client, who does not reside in Lagos, was right there. But we had to cancel the inspection for that day and reschedule for the following week. But till today, that estate has not, in fact, the client eventually completed his payment, but they are yet to allocate that particular estate. An estate company that cannot take you for inspection, there is something wrong with that estate. You need to watch out. And I'm really not surprised. It is the same company that we are now hearing has been swindling people of their hard-earned monies for years. You know the company, the one that only sells receipts instead of land. Their name starts with P anyway. So if a company or an agent or whoever is not willing to take you to the site for you to see what you want to buy, it is a major red flag. Do not proceed. Number 2, excision in process. You want to buy a land and you ask for the title documents and they tell you the title is excision in process. Please run away. If the title is excision, it's fine. But if it is excision in process, please look for another estate or look for another company. Now, what does this mean? Excision in process means that land is still a government land. They have applied for the government to sell it to them, or for the government to change the initial purpose that the government has assigned for that, because every location in the state has a designated use that the government has assigned for that particular land. Some may be agricultural use, some forestry, some residential, whatever. Now, excision in process most likely means that that land is a forestry land or maybe agricultural land, but the estate has applied to the government to convert that portion from agriculture to residential. But it is still in process, meaning the government has not yet approved that application. So most times they already start selling these parcels of land even before the government approves it. Now, when you are buying that type of land, it means either of two things. Either the government approves it and then you are safe, or the government declines the approval. Then you automatically lose your money because you won't go and start building your house in a land designated for forestry. And if you choose to resell it to another person, that will bring you another problem because the person will hold you responsible for selling bad land to that person. So excision in process, do not buy. Number 3, there is no physical office or hard to trace contact information. If you are buying from a company that does not have physical office, it goes without saying, it is a red flag. No traceable contact. I remember the first apartment I rented as a fresh graduate. This person took me to the house, we inspected the place. The place was still under reconstruction. We were trying to modify the apartments, but it was only one unit left. And he claimed to be the landlord. We inspected the place and he promised that whatever was still remaining to be done will be done as soon as possible, that I shouldn't mind. I should just go ahead and make payment. leaving that particular place. On our way going, I made the transfer to him, to his personal account. And he just gave me a written note, no receipt, no nothing. No experience. He gave me a written note. So and so, I've accepted the sum of so and so for the rent duration of 1 year, blah, 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 blah. And he gave it to me and he left. Guess what? I moved into that apartment. He did not complete the work that was going on, and none of us saw him till we left that building. None of us ever saw him again. What we heard was that he was the landlord's brother. The landlord was outside the country and he was in charge of that structure. Now, guess what? What if he was not the landlord? Or he had nothing to do with that building? I think the only issue I had was a pregnant woman came with an off-duty police officer a few weeks after I moved in, let's say 1 or 2 months, and they claimed to have made an initial payment to the landlord for that unit where I was living. But there was some sort of agreement that he should give her some time. She wants to travel to sort out some few things before coming back to balance the payment. But I guess she stayed longer than the agreed duration, and the landlord rented that place to me. So I called the landlord and they agreed on a particular location for them to meet. I don't know how the case ended. So what I was saying, there is no office, there is no traceable contact information. Do not make payments to such companies, agents, or realtors. The next is this: if the location seems too good for the price, how can somebody be offering a house of 200 million naira in Banana Island to you and you want to pay half? Or somebody wants to sell a land in VGC and they are telling you bring 6 million naira. The owner wants to travel out. This and that. The owner is sick. Hero, run. The location is too good for that price, no matter the excuse. I bought a kaka structure some years ago in a particular axis in Lagos, simply because that price was just too good for me to miss out. I ran around and sourced for the money and I made payment. Guess what? About 2 years later, I was just in my working place and I saw a WhatsApp message from my brother. We both had a unit each in that location, and he just told me the government has started demolishing so and so. I was like, turned out that land was a government land. All the buildings in that entire location were brought down. So if the location is too good for that price, there is something wrong with that property or that location. In my own instance, that location was a government land. People that were building there were building on government land. So when the government gets ready for them, they will eventually go there and bring everything down. So if the location is too good for that price, just let it go. Next, conflicting ownership for that property. Somebody claims to be the owner of a property or a land and wants to sell to you, but when you start doing your investigations, you now discover that the name on the documents is different from that person's name, and there is no deed of assignment or relevant documents to prove that that person sold to that current seller who claims to be the owner of that property. It is a major red flag. Or the person says,
the property, don't worry, it is my uncle's, cousin's, brother's, sister's, first son's, friend's property, and they willed it to me before they died, so, and I've now inherited it from them.
And there is no grant of probate or no necessary documents showing that this is actually true. It is a major red flag. You need to run. Court cases are expensive and exhausting. Another red flag to look out for when engaging in real estate transactions is you are being hastened to make a financial commitment. Real estate transactions is not something you rush into. It is serious business. It's something you need to think about before you proceed with it. So if they are rushing you, you should not feel like panic buying. It's not something that you are just at home, you have an August visitor. You now rush to the market, let me buy this, so that you can use to entertain them and their children before they go. No, real estate transactions are serious transactions which you need to calm yourself down, weigh your options, do your due diligence before you proceed to make financial commitments. So if they are rushing you, make payments so that you don't lose out, it is a red flag. If you are being asked to pay in cash, it is a red flag. How can you prove that you made payment? If the deal should go sour, it will be your word against theirs. What if you made a payment of 500,000 and they later told you that you made a payment of 200,000? Or you didn't make any payment at all? How can you prove that you made a payment of 500,000? So you must always do your payment either through bank transfer or write a check. There must be an evidence of payment. Don't do cash payment. Incomplete or missing documents When you eventually make payments through bank transfer or any other form that can show proof of payment, and then the seller refuses to give you documents to prove that they've received your payment or you guys are now in business, it is a major red flag. When you make a payment, ideally they should send you a receipt, they should send you a contract of sale and any other necessary document, invoice and any other necessary document to prove that they've received your payment and then the transaction is now in full force. So that's why I usually advise that buyers start by making an initial deposit when those documents are sent, because in Nigeria, if it is in the US or the UK, you see your contract of sale, you read everything before you make any payment. But in Nigeria, it's not like that. Nobody will send you contract of sale for you to read before you make payment. You always have to make payment. I don't know why it's like that. But usually you make payment before they send you contract of sale. So in this case, if there are missing documents, it is a red flag. When you make your initial deposit, they should send you those documents. If they send and you read and you are not comfortable with some terms, you can easily ask for a refund. Have you experienced any of these red flags before? What are other red flags we must look out for when buying land or buying properties in Nigeria? Share your comments in the comment section. We look forward to hearing from you. Cheers.